Hello, am I audible?
Very low.
Okay, okay. Is it better now?
I can give you 4 out of 5.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, better.
Okay. Okay. Good. So I see people logging in. So just a question: is there a limit to how many people can join? Is there an upper limit on that? So let me also turn off my video in case some people are having problems with the internet. Okay, so if someone has any questions, then I can directly go to that. Otherwise, I'll talk about the assignment problems. And yeah, a very good evening to everyone.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Hi, this is Sunita Chaurasia. Actually, I joined yesterday only the course. I have not gone through all the videos
Okay,
and I have not submitted any assignment also, except that week 01.
sure. So if you have any specific questions, then you can ask.
No. The thing is that, are you giving the solution of the assignment of week 1?
I would like to discuss some of the assignments of week one. And if you have
Okay, okay.
any specific questions, you can also ask me, or you can email me otherwise after this meeting, and I would be happy to help you out.
Thank you. No question right now.
Okay. Good. So I see 100 participants have joined in. Perhaps 100 is this upper limit. So no, I see more people joining. Okay, so I will wait for a while to take any specific questions if anyone has.
Hi Alankar,
Hi.
this is Prasad this side.
Mhm.
I have a general question, may not be related to week one assignment or something like that.
Sure.
Can you explain me how can we download what do you call this a data set from a zip file in the Python notebook? Can you help me out?
What you mean to say that you have a zip file from internet, you want to download that?
Yes, yes. Actually, if I take an example of IMDb data set, so I think it will be available in a zip file. So can you give me like a walkthrough, like how to we
Yes.
download in Python?
Yes, so there is something called, so you have the link to these data sets, do you?
Yes, yes.
You do have the link. So then that's easy. What you do is there is a command called sys in Python. With sys, basically this is one way which I have right at the top of my mind, but there can be other better ways of doing it. But there is something called sys module. So with sys module you can execute commands which we can normally execute in terminal. So what you can do is inside sys as a string you can pass whatever command you want to execute, and there you can give wget space and the URL from where you would like to fetch the file, basically the URL of the file. So this is one way of doing it. I can just briefly write it on the chat.
Yeah, that will be beneficial. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I actually have a doubt from the video for like introduction to the spider part 2. According to that, they actually gave how to clear the output, I mean like the console, and how to clear the environment. But is that we can also clear the script part also?
Yes, you can clear the script part as well.
I was a bit confused that once. Can you explain that, sir?
Yes, so by console you mean on the Python console itself? How do you clear it? Like an IPython console? What kind of console do you have? Like
I mean, like in the videos, they actually explained about how to clear the environment and how to clear the elements which are present in the output. My question is how to clear the script in the main, like we'll be typing the input, no, sir. In that, how to clear the thing.
okay, so just a minute.
It was spider.
I'm actually
Spider
this
console.
Yeah, it's spider
TA
console.
session, so I'll come. Sure. Yes, so in Spider, one command is this percentage clear, which is like this magic command which you can type and things will get cleared. But this is not going to clear any of your variables, right? I mean, by clearing the environment, I think what you mean is clearing all the variables from
Yeah,
memory.
clearing all the variables in the environment and the output.
Yes. So what I generally do is perhaps I can share my screen. That would be better.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Hello.
So, where is the link to join the discussion forum? I am unable to find that link.
What do you mean by discussion forum? I'm also pretty new to this. I was only asked to provide this Google Meet URL, and that's what I have provided.
Oh, okay.
I think you have to contact NPTEL people, perhaps, for it, because I am also pretty new
Yes, sir.
to this platform. This is my first time I'm using it. Okay, can you see my screen? Hi, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, Anand.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So suppose here you see I have opened up Spider, and say I write something, print something like a hello world. So oops. Yeah, I type something. There are a bunch of stuffs, and I want to clear it out. So one thing I do is percentage clear. What this will do is clear my screen, but it will not clear the memory. So you have like something, you have run something previously and you have some variables and other stuff. So you can to clear those out. One thing, there are two stuffs what you can do. This is entirely from inside Spider. One thing is you can clear all the variables. So this will, what this will do, it will clear the variables, but it will still be on the same console. So you see IN56. So what this is, so as you can see, the variables are here gone and there are no variables in here. But this IN56 means that you are still on the same console. You have not changed your console. So although the the variables which are in memory gets cleared, but there are other stuffs can be there in the memory which is not clear in here. So to clear everything from the memory, what you can do is you can just right click on this console tab and just give a restart kernel. So what this will do is restart your kernel, and now you have a fresh Python kernel where you see IN1, so it gets initialized right at the beginning. So these are the three differences. Percentage clear just clears your screen but keeps all your variables. You can click here and remove all the variables. So this will remove everything from the memory, all the variables, but there can be other stuffs as well in the memory, and if you want to remove everything, you just give right click and restart your kernel. So these are the three things I can tell. Yeah, anyways, I can now then briefly jump into some of the assignment questions which I can discuss, and after that we can come back and discuss a little bit more if anyone has any questions specific to assignment or anything else.
So
Yes.
I have not joined from by using my given email ID. Will it be a problem? Is it compulsory that we have to register? We have to log in by the registered email ID.
Yeah, as I was saying, I am not sure about the technical details of this meeting. This is my first time TAing this. This is my first session. So all I know, I was asked is to create this Google Meet link and clear up the doubts and discuss the assignment questions.
Okay,
You have to
sir.
follow up with the NPTEL people for this. Okay. And just one request. I am a PhD student, so there's no need to call me sir. You can just call me by my first name. I am Alanka. I am a PhD student, so everyone is free to call me by my first name. Okay, so let me yeah, it is. Okay, so as you can see, I have see people still joining in. So, yes. So this is week 1 assignment 1. So I can so you can see this. The first question is so there was like a practice assignment as well. Yes. Yes. So the first question is basically regarding what you would how variables are in Python. So there is a fixed set of rules of how variables can be named in Python, and if you and you have to abide by that, otherwise you will get syntax error. So one thing to check is, for example, as I can say here, option number D or option number A, all these are not good options for having a valid name for variables. You can to test this, you can just open up Spider or any Python console you wish, and what you can do is you can just type the name. Like for example, if you type .ram2, what you will get is a syntax error. This is not a proper name of variable. However, option number C is a good one, because if you just type in ram_2, it says a different error, but you can just give a ram10, so you can assign it. and you can see it comes in variables as well. But say for example, if you have to do .2, you get any syntax error saying that it's an invalid syntax. So similarly, similar stuffs go for other names as well. So this dot is a specific operator. Perhaps you will learn about it later in the course, and it's not a good way to use it in variable names. Similarly, you can see this next question is on the similar spirit, which asks for different variables and says that what would be a right choice of variables. So in Python, what you can do is you can initialize multiple variables together in one line. For example, option C is one way of doing it. So you have three variables m, n, and q, and just simple way is just you can just have this, copy and paste it. So what this will do is you have on the left hand side m, comma n, comma q. So m is assigned a value of 3500, n is 3600, and q is 3700, and you can just copy and hit enter, and you see the three different variables get created, like three different values. While the other question asks like what is the what are the invalid, what are the statement is invalid. Again, you can copy this, paste it in Spider, and test it, and reason that why some of the choices are not good choices. And I think the only invalid one will be this one. This is invalid because as I was saying, that you cannot use dots inside the name of variables. Dots means something completely different in Python, and probably you will learn about it. Similarly, it is something called there's something called an assignment operator. There's this equal sign is the assignment operator in Python. As I was showing you, it just assigns values to something. So you can think of this as a equals 3 would mean the value of 3 is assigned to a, and obviously you cannot.
This double equal to sign is not used in Python.
Yes, double equals to is used.
Double
but this
equal.
Yes, double equals is not an assignment operator. It is a comparison operator. When you want to compare stuffs.
Okay, right.
Yes. So there is a difference between assignment and comparison. Although in terms of mathematics, it's a bit different, but in computer programming, there is a difference between assignment and comparison. And for comparison, you use double equals to, which you test whether left hand side is equals to your right hand side or not. And but assignment, you cannot do that. For example, you cannot do this 3 equals to a is the same as a equals to 3, but you cannot do that. As far as mathematics is concerned, it's same, but and since this is an assignment operator, or always the constant thing is on the right and the variable name should be on the left, and you cannot do a 3 equals a. So this will give you an error, but you can always compare 3 equals to a. So it's a double equals. Sorry, I missed one. Double equals, this will give you true because you are comparing 3 or a, or you can do the other way around as well, like a double equals to 3, and this will also give you true. So here you can mix anything, but when you are doing assignment, you have to always keep in mind that the variable has to be on the left hand side and the value has to be on the right hand side. So that's the idea. That's all I have to say about this. And then there's something called type. So type is quite an important command in Python, which you can use to know the type of variable. For example, you see that I have defined a. You can even know, for example, the type of a variable in your variable explorer as well. So these are all integer type variable. So let me also create some other variable like x, and I call this 2.0. So this becomes a floating type variable, as you can see here. But suppose you don't have an access to such a interface like this, or somehow you want to test in your code the type of a variable, you can always use this command called type and give the name of the variable, say here a, and you will get int. Or you can just give the number, the constant itself, like 2, you will get int. And if you give 2.0, then it is float, obviously, and since x was also 2.0, you can type x, and you can also get float. Again, if you want to clear, just give a percentage clear, command line will be cleared out, but yeah, everything, the variables are there. So this is one thing, and the other stuff is, let's see, okay, So there is something called okay. So there is something called before I get into the percentage operator, I have to also talk about something like like this. So you have a equals to 3, and what you can do is you can type a equals a plus 1. So what this will do is it will take a. Yes.
3 plus 1, it gives you 4.
Yes, exactly. So what you'll get is a 3 plus 1, so you will get a to be 4. So there is also a shorthand way of doing it, and what you will get is, say if you do, let me again assign a to be 3, and if you can do the same thing, but it's just a shorthand way of doing it. You just do a plus equals to 1, and this will also give you 4. So what this does is, instead of writing a equals to a plus 1 plus equals to means that you are adding something to already existing value of a or any other variable in that matter. So instead of plus, you can have any other stuffs as well, and equal to after that would mean that whatever you have on the right hand side of a plus or a minus or whatever equals operator, I also have to make sure that there is no space in between, because if you give a space, it will give a syntax error. So you don't have, so this is quite sensitive to space. So you have to give it together, and whatever operation whatever you do on the right hand side, so the one of the operator will be a, and that will be used with the whatever value or other variables you give on the right hand side. So then what this means is, let me write this as, see, x equals to 300. I'm just ignoring the case of the variable. X equals to 300. I'm just writing lowercase. Y equals to 17. One thing also to mention is Python is case sensitive. So uppercase x and lowercase x are two different variables, will be treated as two different variables, unlike other programming languages, perhaps like BASIC. So here, for example, if you want to do, so what this, then the next line is x percentage equals y. So what this means is you have to find out the modulus, use the modulus operator. So what this modulus operator does is it divides x by y. So okay, so let me give a simple example. So 5 modulus 2, what this will do is it divide 5 by 2 and give you the remainder of the division. So this is gives you 1, because 2 times 2 is 4, and you have 1 left behind. So this is the modulus operator. So x percentage equals y. What this would mean is that x percentage equals y. So you can simplify. This is a shortened way of writing x equals to x percentage y. So writing this and or x percentage equals to y means the same thing. So just to demonstrate this, let me do this, and let me print out x. You see it's 11. Let me do the same thing again, but since x is changed, I have to again redefine my x to what previous value was, and I'll do x percent equals y. Make sure there are no spaces between these two things, because these two together only has a meaning. If you have a space, it doesn't. And you will again print out x, you will again get the same thing again. So this is basically it, and I think this completes this assignment. There's also this practice assignment. Yeah. Here, for example, you can see there are two variables, 12 and 15.
Excuse me, why 5 mod 2 is equal to 1?
Yes, so you divide 5. So one thing is
Divide 5 by what?
2. You divide 5 by 2, and you want to say
So
what's the
that
remainder
is
of the division.
0.
No, you divide 5 by 2, that's not 0, right? 5 by 2 is 2.5.
Acha 2 to the 4 and 1
Yes,
remainder.
yes, yeah, exactly. So there is something called there is double slash, which is very unique in Python. Most of the languages don't have something like that. So you have a f5 double slash 2, which what this will do is it will give you the output of a division, and then will round it down to just the immediate smallest integer. So say when you give a 5 double slash 2, this is kind of called as a float division. So what this will do is the division value is 2.5, but it will always round it down to the nearest.
Sir, excuse me, sorry for the interruption, sir. Interruption.
Please feel free to interrupt at
Actually,
any
if
time.
you use, double dash, whereas it will take to the next highest number and to the previous lowest number.
It is always it is called floor division, so it will always round down and never round up.
Sir, if it is a negative value,
It also again rounds it down. So I was just going to show
because
you that. Yeah,
the
I was going to
most
show.
least negative value will become the highest in value, right?
No, I was just going to show you that. So
Yeah.
this 5 /2 will give you 2, because if you divide it by it, you have a value of 2.5, and if you round 2.5 down, you will have 2. And similarly, if you give a minus negative sign, what you will get is -3, because you see -3 is smaller than minus 2.5, right? So again, you are rounding it down.
Thank you, sir.
So in terms of absolute value, you would think that it's rounding it up, but in the negative,
In case, if instead of -5, if I could use -5.9.
yes, you can perhaps do that as well. So you'll get a -3, right?
Thank you.
So the idea is, again, you first divide it, find the value, and then round it down to the round it down, not round it up, round it down to the smallest nearby integer. And since it's negative, so it will go the other way around. So you have minus 2.5 will be round down to -3, while plus 2.5 will be round down to +2. So this is a kind of trick question which in many places asked frequently. And you have something like, okay, so here you see you have two variables, to say num1 and num2, but the type of these two variables are different. One is 12 while the other is within quotes, so this means it's a string. So just to get clear, you can also do something like this, put num1 equals to 12, and again, terminal is your best friend. You have to just use it whenever
It
you
gives
are.
error, I guess.
Yes, obviously it will give you an error. I was just showing why is that so. So if you give, you can again see the type of the two variables. So you cannot. So this is like you cannot add.
Num2 is a string, right, sir? Since
Yes, you cannot just add apples and oranges. So that's why it gives you an error, because these are of two different types. So that's what I was going to show you. If you give type num1, you will get an integer, but if you just go type num2, it will get a string. So you cannot directly add string with an integer or anything like a float. You cannot add. So you have to always have variables of the same type. But obviously there is for convenience, you have this feature like you can always add float to an integer and the value will be float. So what happens in that case is Python automatically does the conversion for you. So it converts the float to floating value to an the integer value to a floating value and gives you a result in which is a float. So to get you to make you show that, like for example, you can do something like this, and what you will get is a floating point number. But you can see that the left hand side is an integer and the right hand side is a float. But you cannot, as I was saying, you cannot add apples to oranges. You cannot add variables of two different types or strings of two different types together. So, but what Python does implicitly to make it convenient is it converts the left hand side to float and gives you a value in float. So, just to be clear, I can show you, like if you give type, what you have is an integer, and similarly, if you give a type of 3.2, you will have a float. But when you are adding the two, and you are asking what's the type of this entire expression, you will again have something like a float. So this is what I was talking about. Question number 2, what does it say? Okay, so this is again, I've already discussed this, like when you are adding two stuffs, your J, as you can see, is 6 and G is 3.3. So now like whenever you have two things which is out of which one is a float, then the other one, unless you do anything specific, usually comes out, the result usually comes out as a float. And so you see you have a normal division and you have a floor division, both of which gives you something which is in float. And you can also see, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Hello.
Hello,
So
yes.
float division must return the value of value as an integer, right?
No, the value is returned as an the value which you get is an integer, but the type is again returned as a float. Like you will get a 0.0 thing, but the type is returned as a float. Just to give you,
Okay.
so you can see here like let me check.
दिन में नहीं सोया ना तो इसलिए आँख पड़ गई थी
Sir, it is not going to give the float value. It is always gives the integer
No, no, no.
value.
It depends on how, means what are your variables are. For example, if both of your variables are integer, then you will get something which is an integer. But as I was saying, if either variable is a float, then the result has comes out as a float. So for example, as you can see, I give a 5 double slash 2, and what I get is 2. And since you cannot see any decimal places here, this is integer. But if I give something like a 5.0 double slash 2, what you get is a 2.0. So
बुखार आए
so the idea is whenever you have
बॉडी का वो
two
प्रतिरक्षा तंत्र है ना
different numbers,
स्ट्रांग है ना इम्यूनिटी
then
इम्यूनिटी को भी
you
तो
have something which
जंग
is
लग जाएगा इम्यूनिटी को अगर बीमार नहीं पड़ेगी वो काम ही क्या करेगी फिर तो भी थोड़ा एक्शन में आना
this. Can I can hear someone in the background. Can you please mute yourself?
हम क्या करते हैं दवाई बीमार होती दवाई खाते हैं तो दर्द होती दवाई बुखार होती दवाई नहीं अरे उसको मौका दो वो भी
Sir,
अपना
it's
काम कर
Deepesh
रहा है
Bhatt.
Uh-huh. So I'm just muting this person. Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, whenever you have two variables, and out of the two variables you have something like a float, one of them, at least one of them, if both are float, then obviously your value is also will be float. But if one of them is float, then the other one will be converted to float and your value comes out in float. So is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you can again, as I was saying, terminal is your best friend. That's how I also sometimes learn. So I give this, and you see it's integer. While if I give something like a 5.0, what I get is a 4. So this is the difference.
Okay, clear.
And so the third question is you have two numbers A and B. One is 5. So 5 in binary is 101, and B, which is 3, which in binary is 011. And what you do is you want to find out. You have to find out what out of these options which gives you which option gives you the value of 7 and 1 respectively. So obviously what this so or and these are like logical operators. So or and are logical operators means that it will operate on the variables which you have on this or and these operators should be Boolean variables. So Boolean variables are variables in Python which have value either true or false. They are not numbers. So for example, you can think of something like say bool1. Let me create a variable like this, and I say true. So you create a variable of type Boolean and of type bool. So you can also type to check the type of it, and I can give bool1, and you will see it's of the type bool. So bool is the Boolean operator. So it can have only two values, true and false, and it's very specific in terms of how you write it. The first one will be in uppercase, while the rest RUE will be in lower. Similarly, in false, so you can create another variable. Let me call it bool2, and I call it ls false. So you create two variables, bool1 and bool2, true and false, and both of them are type Boolean. So only if your variables are of the type Boolean, then only you can use these operators like or and not. These operators can be used. Otherwise, you cannot use these numbers. These operators on variables or values which are not of the type bool. And so this automatically eliminates out these options. So you are left with this option only. But let me also explain this why is that so. So here you see that so you do something called a bitwise. These are called bitwise operators. So this operator on the bits. So 101 and 011. So these are the two numbers 5 and 3, and you have to use an OR operator. So this operator operates on bits. So what you do is 011, and you have another thing called 101. So I think, can I use the board for it? There's something called a whiteboard facility here. Let me check.
Sir, when we take the OR operator, in
Yes.
case of OR operator, if both are 0, 0, then only it will return 0, right? If it is even 1, 0, it returns only 1.
By OR operator, do you mean OR or bitwise OR?
Sir, in this particular question, by using ASCII, we can write this 5 as 101 and
Not
2 as
ASCII,
1.
it's
So when
binary.
we
You mean
use,
binary,
yeah,
right?
binary.
Yes,
So
yes.
when we use operator, if it is only both the cases are 0, then only it will return 0. Otherwise, it is 1 only, right?
Yes, okay. As I was saying, by OR you mean bitwise OR. You mean this this operator, right? This one. You mean this, right?
Yeah. No.
Is it so? You mean
Yes,
this?
sir.
Yes. Yes. So this is what I was saying. So you have 1, 0, 1, and you have 0. What was that? 0, 1, 1, I believe.
I'm not able to see your screen.
Oh. Let me check.
Sir, you have stopped sharing.
Yeah, I was just actually trying to open up a whiteboard.
And the whiteboard which you have shared, we are not able to
Yes,
access.
yes, I understand. So can you see the whiteboard right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So okay, then let me ask. By OR operator, you mean this operator, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. So this is the Boolean operator. Sorry, this is the binary operator. While there is another operator called OR, which is a Boolean operator, and this only works on variables which are Boolean. So if your A and B are not Boolean variables, this doesn't make sense. So this will give an error. You have to use this operator, which is a bitwise operator, and this operates on bits. So say this was one was 5 and another one was 3. I have forgotten which one was which.
First one is 5 and the second one is 3.
Yes, yes, thanks. So yes, so one is 101 and other is 011, right? And oops. Yes. So you see, when you are doing an OR operator like bitwise OR, for each bit you do this operation that you have. If you have two ones, this will give you a 1. If you have one, either one is 0, then also you get a 1. And so this is the thing. So you get 1, 1, 1, and this is nothing but 7. And this is in binary, so if you convert it to decimal, you will get 7. Similarly, if you do the same thing for AND operator, you have a 1, 0, 1 and you have a 0, 1, 1. So what this will do is, if only two are both of them,
then it is
exactly,
1.
exactly. So what you will get is 1, 0, 0. So
0.
you have the thing which this in binary means the same as in decimal, so this is 1. So for one of them, this is the value of A and B. This gives you 1, while A or B gives you 7. So this is what I want to show. So let me.
Like how does it know that it has to add, or
It's not adding, so it's just doing bitwise operation. So so whenever you give this operator, like pipe, this is called a pipe. So this is an or you have this ampersand and sign. So then it converts both of your numbers on the left, one on the left and one on the right, both of them to binary. And then what it does, it checks for each of the bits and uses the logic that if both the bits are 1, then you have 1. In case of OR, what it does, if both the bits are 1, it does 1. If either of the bit is 1, then also 1. And if both are 0, then only it's 0. So it just,
can you
Uh,
give an example with the not operator in, let's say,
yes.
these two variables?
Yes, there is something called, I think, not operator as well. So let me also share. Right. So what I can do is I can use, say, 5, right? 5 is this thing which is 0, 1, 1. So for example, if you have 0, oops, sorry for the very bad handwriting. You have something like a 0, 1, 1, which is 5, and the not operator now is something like this, which is a tilde thing. Which
0, 0, 1, 1 is 3.
sorry, yeah, 0, 1, 1 is 3, and if you want to give something like
Go ahead, ask.
yes,
Ask her.
yes, tell me.
Uh, I have a question.
Yes.
Basically, how is A different from B? For A or B and A ampersand B, okay? One is an operator and other one is denoted by words.
No, both are. This and is an operator.
Correct. And is an operator, and a vertical line is an or operator.
This is an or operator, and this is a bitwise or operator, and this is a bitwise and operator.
From the results option, right? There is a A, there is a B, there is a C, there is a D, right? What they have done is they have given it as A or B in words. A alphabet word or
yes. This
B,
is this is what I was saying initially.
and
Like
A and
yes.
B.
Yes,
And
I
for
understand.
me, right, I don't see or and using the operator or symbol and symbol. For me, both A and B are answers are correct.
No. This or of A and whenever you have A and B as numbers, you cannot use this thing like or. This is also an operator, but these are called logical operators, and you cannot use logical operators on something which is not a Boolean, because
Okay, you are trying to use the Boolean symbol. Okay, I get it.
like
You are saying if it's a word A or B, if A or B do this.
Yes, like when you have something like an A or B, this is what you mean, right?
And if it is A and B do this,
then A and B cannot be numbers. A and B has to be something either true or false.
I got it. Thanks.
So this is the difference. Like or that is a different class of operators. Those are called logical operators. Well, these are called bitwise operators. So these operators on bits of numbers.
One question.
Yes.
Actually, I tried this in Spider.
Uh-huh.
So what it is giving when we are writing A is equal to 5 and B is equal to 3, and we are using A or B, not the bitwise operator.
Okay.
Then it is giving the answer 5. A or B, it is giving 5.
Let me check that. Yeah, I have to check then in terms of when you have two. I have never used something like when you have two numbers, and what happens when you have two numbers. Like in most of the cases, what happens is A and B are either true and false, and then only your logical operators make sense. What does it interpret in case of A and B being integer or other values? I have not checked. I have to check that, and I can get back to you in that sense. Because in general, what happens is when you use this or and these operators, your things are like your variables on both sides are logical operators, like true or false. But I was expecting it to give value which do not give any value when you have something else. But yes, please tell me.
I have tried about these logical operators and the numbers.
Yes.
It was giving for the logical. It was giving the if the first number is non-zero, then it was directly giving the non-zero value.
Okay.
But if the first number is 0, in the case of logical, it was giving out the 0.
I see.
And in the case of AND operator, if the first value is non-zero, then it was giving the second value.
Okay.
But if the first value is 0, then it was giving the 0. I have tried this one and
I see. I have to, it can be. I have to look up this because I have not used ever like any numbers, because it's not generally how or or AND is used. So I have to look up specifically. I'm not sure about exactly what Python does for this. But the thing is, this OR is a logical operator, and while this pipe thing is kind of a bitwise operator which operates on bits. And coming back to this NOT operator, what this will do is it will invert your zeros to ones. So what this will do is 0 1 1 will be inverted to 1 0 0, right? And this is how it works.
In the NOT operator, the one you mentioned, like why are we giving 0 for the value of 3? It's 0 1 1, right? So
Yes.
why are we giving the value a number 0?
No, I'm just breaking it down to just explain it. But what you will generally give in Python is this not 3.
Okay.
What it will internally do is it will convert it to an binary representation and invert the bits. That's what I mean to say. Sorry for the confusion.
No, like my question was, it's just 1 1, right? Not 0 1 1.
Okay. Again, it depends on like in variables. So you have a fixed in computer in that sense. You have fixed number of bits. So you'll always have to set all those bits. So actually, what happens is you have perhaps noted that there is this something called int32 or int64. What does that mean is that you have 32 bits to set. To like that's the maximum. Like that's the maximum number of integers you can have. I mean the maximum size of an integer you can have, and you cannot have any integer larger than that. So automatically what happens is any number which is, say, if your number is 1, then only the last bit is 1, while rest of you can write this as 1, but how the computer represents this is that it sets all its previous bits to 0. That's how the basic representation is. So even if you do not tell it, the thing is all the bits preceding that are already set to 0.
So when you NOT of 1 in that case will be 32 or 31 by that logic, right? Because it's followed by 31 zeros. When you do a NOT operation on it,
there is also
Sir?
something called.
Sorry for the disturbance. Shall I answer for this question?
Yes, sure, please.
So basically what happens when you give any number, it takes in a binary format, whereas the first unit here, first place here it is has written no, that is 2 to the power 0. So it goes up to 2 to the power 32. Based on that, if the value is, say, first one is 2 to the power 0, next one is 2 to the power 1, next is 2 to the power 2, next is 2 to the power 3. So when you take the 2 to the power 0, any value to the power 0 is always 1. 2 to the power 1 is 2. 2 to the power 2 is 4. Like that it is going to add up. Wherever your given number is matching, for that you will putting 1. For the rest of the blocks it will be 0. Am I right, Alankar sir?
Yes, I think you are right. The only thing is there is something called there is something called sign bit. So what happens is one bit on the leftmost end is assigned for sign in case of integers. So and a sign bit is like if the sign bit is 0, then it's positive, and if the sign bit is 1, it's negative. So what happens is when you NOT any positive numbers, you get a negative number.
Sir, it is basically, they have to go for a networking concept of logical gates. When we were in degree, they used to do that, NOT operator. If the greatest one, if it is a negative and positive, it always returns us with a negative value.
Yeah, the reason is that the leftmost bit, like
the leftmost bit, it is gonna revert.
Gives you the sign of it. Like if the leftmost bit is 1, then your sign is negative, and the leftmost bit is 0, then your sign is positive. Now what you do is, if you do a NOT, your left on a positive number, your leftmost bit was 0, so it changed to 1. So what you will get is a negative number, and similarly, if you NOT a negative value, you will get a positive number. Depends on your leftmost bit.
But how many number of bits can it consider? So?
Yes, that depends on your type of integer. In general, I think Python has 32, but it also depends on perhaps you have also.
What's Spider integer type?
I think it's 32. I'm not sure, but I think it's 32 bits. So it also depends on on your operating system. So you have perhaps seen like many stuffs like 32-bit applications and 64 bits applications. So what this means is that for each variable you can you have 32 bits or you have 64 bits. So it depends on your hardware architecture and your application as well. But in modern days computers, you generally have 64 bits in general. Yeah, 64 bits actually. So I'm not sure exactly what Spider is having, but if you have a 64-bit your Spider is having, if you have a 64-bit version of Spider, then your integer by default is 64 bits, and if you have a 32-bit version of Spider, then your variable is by default 32 bits. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Actually, I used the not operator in my Spider console, but it is throwing an error.
What's the error?
Error is IPython dash input dash 21 dash 1579D line 1 syntax error invalid syntax.
Okay, so what are you using for not operator? Tilde, which is beside under escape and besides one.
Yes, it's correct.
Okay, I don't see such an error in my console. Okay, let me share my screen and you can then just check whether what you are doing is same or not.
Yeah, please.
So can you see my screen?
No. Yes, now I can see it.
Yeah. So here you on the right hand side you can perhaps see what I am, how I am using not. Are you doing something like this?
Yes. No, I wrote 5, then that particular symbol and 3.
No,
And
not
entered.
operator is you cannot use not on. It's a unary operator, so it only operates on one number. You cannot have not operator on two numbers because it inverts the bit of a number what you give. So not operator is a unary operator. So it
I
just
got it. Oh,
you cannot give two numbers. Not in it doesn't make any sense. You can have and or
okay.
bitwise and or bitwise or, but bitwise not only takes one number.
Okay, fine. I got it. Thank you so much.
Okay. So let me quickly go to the next question. So yeah, this is this float division as I was talking about. I think I've already said about it. This is x equals to 50 as I was saying in the previous one as well. Since you have quotes, this is a string, and you want to convert a string. If you want to convert something from string to float, you use this float. Within parentheses, you give x, or and this will be converted to float. You can even do it for int. For example, you can give int 50, oops, 52, okay, 52, so this will give you 52. It gives an integer. So it just converts string to an integer and vice versa. So for example, I don't know whether this will throw an error or not. Yeah, this throws an error because it doesn't make any sense. It is not able to convert a something to an integer. So if you give something which makes sense, then as a string, then it will convert it to an integer. And similar thing happens for float as well. Which of the following names are invalid in Python? Yeah, you can just again it depends on the rules for declaring variables in Python. You can just type this through and check just to be sure. And okay, which would throw an error? So this one throws an error obviously because the first one is, as I was saying, Python is very specific about true and false. This creates two Boolean variables, true and false, while this creates two string variables, like one with value true and another with value false. This again also creates two strings, while this what this means is you can even define also some variable called false to something and true to something. And since you have not defined any variable true or variable false, then this will obviously give you an error because it treats basically these two quantities as variables, and if you have not defined this before, then it doesn't know what value to assign to where one. So that's the thing. So for example, if you just give var 1 equals false, it will give you an error because as the error also suggests, name false is not defined. So you have not defined.
Why the option 1 is valid?
Okay, 1 is valid is because you are creating this true is a Python Boolean variable, right? This true is a Python, like it's true. It's a Python Boolean literal.
Can we start, can we start, writing the variable name or define a variable name starts from 1?
I don't get you, sorry.
If I want to
No,
define a
no,
variable
it's
number,
invalid. It's invalid.
No, invalid.
Variable name cannot start with number.
I don't get your question actually. Can you please repeat? Hello.
She was asking if you can define a variable starting with a number.
No, you cannot. That I already showed, right? You cannot write in an assignment operator. You cannot do this. You always have to have a variable on the left hand side and the literal on the right hand side, or the value on the right hand side. You cannot do this. So that's not allowed in Python, at least. In R it's allowed, but yeah, in Python it's not. So predict the output of the following code. So okay. So here you just as I was telling you that if multiple variables are involved and if one of the variable is a floating point number, then the result will be most likely be in float. And since this gives you 4, but that 4 should be in float because your p is float because of this 0.0. So what you get is 4.0. You can test this. Similarly, what this is, okay, so this again is depending upon the precedence of operators. So depending upon which operator has to be done first and which operator has to be done later, you have to do this, and this will give you 17. So this this operator like this is called the float division operator. It comes first, so you have to calculate this num /z. Then you have to also calculate multiplication first, and then it is followed by addition. Then you have to add the 3 numbers and you get something like this. And I think this is the Python library. This is very straightforward. Okay, I guess that's all I had to talk about. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. We cannot convert a string into like a float or integer, no, sir.
Yes, you can. You can convert a string to a float or an integer. All you have to do is just give float and give the string. Like you can give something like a 5.6, and it will
So you mean only if a numerical number is given in the part of string, we can convert into form of integer and float.
Yes, but if you give something else, then it will show you an error because it will not know what to do, right? So if you do something like this, it will give you an error. It will not know what to do.
Like what if you give a complex number in the form of string? Will it still convert it?
I am not sure. Let's try. No, it doesn't.
Alankar,
So there is
I have a
something called
question.
complex as well. I'm not sure about that. Yes, so you have to do something like a complex. So it will convert your thing to a complex number.
Alankar, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, in question number 7, which you just had a discussion upon, variable 1 is equal to false and variable 2 is equal to true. So this particular second option was wrong because it was not a string first of all, and also the first letter of false and true was
Yes.
not capital.
Yes.
Is it
So
so?
yes, and the reason, and then what Python will do is it will treat false and true as 2 different variables. And since you have not already defined anything like false and true, this will give you an error. As I was showing you, I think a while back, like if you do this, you will get an error calling false is not defined. But what you can do is you can even do something like this. Although it's not advisable to do, you can do something like this. And then if you do something like this, then it will not give you an error because it treats false as a variable.
Okay.
Although
okay,
you should
okay.
not do this. This is bad coding practice.
Okay. Otherwise, in normal sense, Python will see this as a Boolean value, but it will find that this is not correct, not proper, so it will give it.
No, it will not
Uh,
see as a Boolean value. What Python will do is it will see FALSE as a it will treat it as a variable, but that variable is not defined. So that's what the error says. Name false is not defined. So it searches the memory for a
Okay.
variable. It doesn't find that variable, and then it
Okay.
gives an error.
And for it to be a Boolean value, the first letter must be a capital.
Exactly. And then it will automatically know that it's a Boolean and it will already assign its type. So Python determines the type of its variable depending upon what you give on the right hand side. And this always this is dynamic and changes, unlike in other programming languages like C or Fortran, where you have to specifically state what the type of the variable is.
Sir,
Yeah,
could you
actually,
explain the difference between NumPy and the pandas, sir?
So NumPy is basically a module of Python which allows you to do numerical manipulation stuffs and also matrix stuffs like matrix multiplication and other things. While pandas is more sort of thing where uh, you have data analysis related, more data analysis related stuffs. Like say for example, you have a spreadsheet like a CSV file or an Excel file, and you want to read the data from the spreadsheet, then you can use something like pandas. So Python is more in terms of crunching numbers, while pandas is more sort of a module or a library where it has functions which you can use for handling large data.
sir, can you please repeat question number 4?
Question number 4.
Four,
Oh
four.
yes, this is about integer division, right? Not integer division. This is about
Floor division
Right,
operator.
right. Yeah. So as I was saying, what floor division does, it always rounds you down. It rounds down. It never rounds up. So it never takes you to the largest integer. It not next largest integer, but previous smallest integer. That's why the name
How
is
it is?
floor.
So, could you please explain in taking negative numbers?
Yes, yes,
How
yes.
it is?
So what you can do is, so if you take positive numbers, you get 2, right? Because your answer is 2.5, and if you round down 2.5, the next smallest integer is 2, right? So this makes sense, right? And now if you take a negative number, so with positive you understand it, isn't it? Do you understand the positive thing?
Yeah, I understood the
Okay.
positive one.
Now
5
for the
divided by
negative
2
one,
is equal to
yes,
2.5.
yes. For the negative one, the answer is minus 2.5, right? And
Yes.
and when you, what is the integer which is when you round it down? It's minus 3. Minus 3 is the smaller, right? Minus 3 is
Minus 2.5.
minus
This
3
means
is
that
smaller than minus
either
2.5, right?
there can be two round off, either minus 2 or minus 5.
And you always
Minus
round
3.
down. You always round down.
Okay.
The idea is that's why it's called floor. You always round down and never round up.
Okay. Thank
Because
you.
if you give minus 2, you'll get it is false, right? Because minus 2 is larger than minus 2.5. But while in the case of positive numbers, you get a 2 because your 2 and 2.5, if you give, this is true, right? While if you give 3, this is false. Sorry, the other way around.
Hi, Alankar.
Yeah.
See, the code what you have run was in Spider. So if I want to run in the same Python, it is going to work well and good. So if I wanted to share that code sheet to any of my colleague, how can you just help me out as I am facing little challenge? Can you help me out? How do I share the code of block or something like that?
The idea is what I was showing in the console is just if you have 1 or 2 lines, it's good to do it like this. But if you have a long code, no one uses this terminal right away. You have to create a .py file and you just write your code in a .py file. Like for example, I have one long code like a .py file created in here, and I just share this code for anyone to run.
Regarding this
Is there
only,
Yes.
like let's say I code in Jupyter Notebook, which has like a blocks, like boxes, and then I run it on Spider, which doesn't have anything.
No. What you have to do is either you run it on Jupyter Notebook itself, or there is an option, as far as I remember, in Jupyter Notebook, which says export to a .py file. So you have to export it to a .py file. Open that .py file in Spider and you can run it.
So .ipynb and .py are
.py.
different.
Yes, ipynb is a notebook which you can only run in the browser itself. If you want to run something on Spider, you need to have it .py file. And what you can do is there is an option called in notebooks export to .py. You have to export this and then you can run that on Spider.
Okay. And what if we let's say I take some codes from Spider and I run it on Jupyter. So it will be in a single box, right? If I
yes, it will be. There is no concept of boxes actually.
Okay. So the boxes in will give me the immediate output in Jupyter file, right?
Yes,
So
but
the same thing won't be done
no,
in Spider file.
no. It's like you run the entire file itself, and there is no concept of box or running a part of it.
Okay. Thank you.
In this assignment, can you use the Jupyter notebook or only Spider?
Yeah, whatever you wish, like
It is okay, no?
whatever you feel comfortable and whatever you wish.
And
What other Python means executing environments are available other than this Python, Spider and
You mean
Anaconda,
idle?
Jupyter?
These are called idle. You mean idle? Like
Hello.
development
Yeah.
environment. So
Yeah, exactly.
one thing is this very straightforward. You can use your notepad even to write your .py scripts. So that's the
Okay, then how can we execute that file
okay.
if
So
I'm writing using Notepad?
so you write it in notepad, name the file, give the file as .py extension, and you just run it as like in your terminal. You just type Python space the name of your file, and that will work.
So for that, I have to do something, install some
Yeah, you have to install
Python.
Python, and if you are on Linux system, it's already installed. I mean, at least a bare minimum version of Python is already there, and you can just give Python space name of the file. You can run it. If you are on Windows, then what you have to do is perhaps a straightforward way would be to install Anaconda, and inside Anaconda you can open an Anaconda terminal, so you get your apps something like that.
It's Anaconda prompt, right?
Yes, exactly, Anaconda prompt.
Yeah.
If you're saving it on Notepad, we can just save it as .py and all files, the category, and we can run it on Python Jupyter Notebook, right?
Yes, you can perhaps do that. I have not tried that, but you can perhaps do that. But one thing is you can just use the Anaconda prompt, like Python space name of the file .py, and it will run. And besides Spider, you have a couple of others as well. Like the Python itself has a bare minimum ID. There is code blocks. I don't know. Code blocks has this. There is something called a PyCharm, which some people use. Yeah, there are a couple of not couple, but quite a few options out there.
Sir, I'm using Jupyter in PS Code. If PS Code is fine.
Sorry,
Yes, better.
you're using Jupyter in
And Jupyter Notebook in VS Code.
VS Code. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I used that option. There's also VS Code. Yeah. Okay.
Do you think it's more advantageous to use VS Code since it has an extension like to correct the wrong syntaxes?
Yeah, even Spider has one, but it's not that. I mean, it's not as developed as VS Code. You can try VS Code. I have not used much VS Code.
in this course, what are the programming we can develop some projects or only some learning of Python?
I think it's learning of Python itself, but I have to check properly the entire thing and have to get back to
Okay.
Usually when we run a code, it will be stored in the memory, right? RAM. So
the
is there an
variables
option?
The variables will be at least.
Like, is there an option to run it on GPU apart from CNN and other stuff?
Yes,
the normal codes, can we run it on GPU?
Yeah, depends on what kind of code you are using. For example, if you are working with, say, large arrays, you certainly can. There are a lot of modules out there. The one which I use is something called a CUPY coupling, which is basically same as NumPy, but runs on GPUs. Yeah, there are a couple of options. Few options.
So NumPy won't run on GPU no matter what.
No.
Can you repeat this thing again? The module?
CUPY coupling. I'll write it on chat.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we can use Google Color if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, Google Color is just a platform which gives you the GPU hardware. But he's asking about what kind of software you need for or modules in Python.
Will there be any problem if I install VS Code as well as this Anaconda?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay then. See you.
So, will you be dealing with assignment 2 today?
No, I have discussed this week's week one's two assignments from week one. So
Yeah, the both were for week 1, right?
yeah. So I will do the week 2 the next week.
Fine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, actually, we registered for the online course only today, so we did not receive any videos or assignment regarding week one. What to do, sir?
You have to contact NPTEL because I am also pretty new. This is my first session organizing, so I don't know about these technical details. You have to contact the NPTEL team. They will hopefully help you out on that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
See you. Yeah, I'll share the recordings. So what the NPTEL people, someone has asked me about the recordings. So what the NPTEL people have asked me is to upload it on YouTube and share it with them. Hopefully, they will share it with the members who have taken this course. Okay then, see you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anil sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.